we don't have an intro. Ito na yun. Yeah. And also, we're gonna be doing it in... you can speak in Tagalog. You can also swear here. You can say bad stuff. You can say whatever. But, of course, as much as possible, we want to speak in English, so that's editing on my part.
Okay.
But, yeah. Welcome to the show. This time, I have with me two of the... there's an what's that? It was an expression in the Philippines when you're called Saudi man. You didn't know that? Do you know that?
I don't.
When you're a Saudi man, you're practically an OFW in the UAE. Like, even if it's like Dubai or something, they call you Saudi man, whatever. But yeah, basically you're OFWs and you're practically like feeding a bunch of family. And you both were from Riyadh. Yeah. Not Saudi, but you're Saudi men, technically speaking.
You know what? When we got there, I told Naisou, like, I think we're certified OFWs now. There's a lot of Filipinos as well working.
Yeah. I was actually surprised, by the way. Like,
even in the flight,
we both said that. We're like, man, I don't even feel like I left the Philippines.
No, not at all.
Why?
Because there were so many Filipinos.
Yeah.
At
the airport, at the flight.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is Francis, aka OSX, and this is JC, aka Naisou, two of the casters from the English desk of MPL since season 7. You guys were 8.
8.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
You just joined the English desk officially when? Officially?
Like,
that's the 100%. I'm gonna be English.
Does the bridging responsibility from season 8 count? Like from English to Filipino?
Doesn't count.
Come on.
It doesn't count?
Really?
Because you were bouncing back and forth.
Wow.
And I was like, dude, you gotta come to English.
All right.
Officially in the English desk, 11.
There you go.
11.
All right.
11.
So
started
quite you're still green, technically speaking. And
got his green card.
Yeah. Okay. So these two guys were part of, they're famous in the Philippines as shoutcasters for MPL. But of course, we want to talk about your journey heading into, that spot. So let's try to. I wanted to ask both of you what your background is before you went to shoutcasting. Right, because I've heard that you came from different worlds, both of you. So let's start with Francis first, because Francis or OSX, before heading into esports, you have a corporate job, as we call here in the Philippines.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. I work in an advertising agency, so a creative agency. So I've been doing that for almost 8 years before heading into shoutcasting, and this was actually stopped during the pandemic in 2020. Yeah, the day that the Earth stood still.
Yep.
March 15th, if I'm not mistaken. I had an event like prior that month, and I was planning to do a vacation during February and April, and suddenly everything just shut down. Yep. So yeah, but going back, I started as a graphic designer. I was doing this back in college, and after that, I continued working as a production assistant for certain advertising firms and also films in Bacolod City in Metro Manila. So it's more likely a portfolio building stage for me, where I could actually learn from the best of the best, from film, from advertising. But mainly in my curriculum in college, I took over advertising because that was my grandfather is known for back here in the Philippines.
Really?
At this advertising agency.
I did not know this. Who's your grandfather?
It's Diego. Well, he's in heaven now. So yeah. So rest in peace, Grandpa. But yeah, I think his genes somehow transferred to mine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I love advertising so much to the point that I wanted to continue the journey of having my own business with it while being in a company.
Okay.
Yeah. So corporate is more like I'm a guy who's mostly behind the camera, not being in front of the camera.
Okay.
Which was a big decision for me back in the pandemic days, where I decided I was pushed to stream a game.
Stream a game.
Yeah,
a game.
Yeah, and it was Dead by Daylight.
Oh,
okay, that's not what I was expecting.
Yeah, I was like, would I really go through this challenge? Like, will I scream, or will I pretend that I am a different person just because to entertain the people watching me on the stream? So from that moment on, I decided to continue or to explore what streaming could offer, and actually led me to shoutcasting, which is I was casting a different game, by the way. It was Call of Duty Mobile. But
Okay.
I was playing Mobile Legends on the side as well. So
Okay.
at some point, we all see that ad in our phone. Play a mobile game, win in less than 10 minutes.
Yeah. That was the ad. That was the ad.
Yeah. So from that moment, me and my friend Jonah, like we are League of Legends boys back in the cafe, cyber cafe days, and
I think
we-
most people were.
Yeah.
There was a lot of people
Yeah.
that were.
those are the best days, and the instant noodle thing that we order in the cafeteria tastes so much different in the
In the cafe.
in the
internet
cafe. Yeah, but not being.
But if you serve it yourself, it doesn't.
It doesn't even taste that good. You know, like how messy and dirty
Yeah.
the thing is being served right on your table, and you have that oily thing right on your keyboard and mouse.
For sure, for sure.
So that's one of the best things. So yeah, continuing the path that I went through. So I started with corporate advertising to film production, and mostly dwelled into providing creative services for businesses, small and medium enterprises, businesses in Bacolod City and all different
Wow.
places around the globe. Yeah. So mostly,
Wow.
I lean towards the startup businesses who actually need something to start with their own resources and capabilities. So
Yeah.
yeah. So
Man, pretty legit.
yeah.
This guy's pretty legit.
Yeah. From that moment, I wanted to, since we're talking about being legit, and to have more credentials on me, and I started to get some certifications as well during those days. And during the pandemic, we had this time like, what can I do more with my current experience and expertise? So with that, while doing streaming, I'm taking up courses, taking up certifications, and suddenly I saw this way of like, oh, I can earn money in shoutcasting.
Were you streaming every day? Or did you have like a set schedule?
A set schedule, maybe thrice or 4 times a week. It started with my frustration with just having 1 or 2 viewers in my stream because I was playing by myself.
Okay.
And the only thing that gave me a push back then was I had this way of having a 5v5 thing, and with my viewers, they actually can be in a stream and have this thing of, oh, we're from a clan in Mindanao, we're from a clan in Visayas, so we're from Manila. And that started with COD M, and it started also with Mobile Legends, and it continued from that point. And I started to discover how shoutcasting could be a great thing and can have good money as well. But on a starting pace, it was kind of a challenge to
Yeah.
go
More
through.
like grassroots kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
the grassroots. So from those days, I started to see potential by looking for a greater way to expand my experiences with shoutcasting.
Okay.
That's how Dan ended up in my COD M stream saying, hello.
Hello.
He randomly just popped up.
Okay.
So who's this guy? Ah, Shoutcaster. Okay. And then suddenly I saw you guys, Butters. This was the M2 era that I saw you guys back in. Where was that? Where was the place in M2? I
Singapore.
forgot.
Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore. Where Butters as well were present.
Singapore.
Yeah, it was Singapore.
Singapore.
It was Singapore.
This was during TMP Wave 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were part
Where's
of it.
M3?
Singapore too.
Oh, it was both. Okay, I was
Singapore.
like, okay.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because of the pandemic, basically, and Singapore is the only country
That's right.
can
Yeah,
accommodate
yeah,
that because they're advanced. They're a first world country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the ones that can actually host the thing.
I was following Wolf's pages back then, and the first thing I saw was he said in a photo, I have already found the Mobile Legends Bang Bang bus.
It is. I've seen it there.
Yeah.
It's the MLBB bus. It's the Mobile Legends
Bang Bang bus.
It's true.
Yeah, that was the first content I saw from your page.
Crazy.
You're like, this guy's legit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
this guy should be legit with MLBB bus. But one thing that I got from what you said is that it's a different world because it's typically back end. And maybe the quick question here is like, why did you decide to be a talent in esports? I mean, by the way, your voice sounds good, so you probably like kind of rehearsed in the we know what they do because I did it too. I rehearsed in the bathroom like shoutcasting.
Same.
Yeah, really. So like with the voice that you have and with the interests that you have, also your love for gaming in a very quick manner, is that actually the reason why you ended up?
Well, technically still yes, and part of it, like, I had to let go of something in order to proceed with shoutcasting. Since I have developed a way
Yeah.
of going back to my games back in the pandemic, I thought of like maybe I could make something out of it. Since that, then I was thinking, why don't I leave my slowly leave my corporate job from 9 to 5 and finally get into focus with my other investments.
Yeah.
So with that, maybe I can still make a living, but not losing the part of, not continuing my experience and
Yeah.
expertise with the production and the corporate side of myself.
Okay.
So from the way of I developed my speaking as well, most of my families came from abroad, and also my families are in Sydney and Illinois. So most of the times that we talk, and I had the time to visit them. So that's how I got the chance to even, make babad myself.
Make it hot body.
Yeah,
What's the translation? Like immerse.
immerse and
Yeah.
go through with how they do their dialect and how they speak. By the way, we Filipinos have the best English speaking capabilities
I
all
agree.
around the world.
Yeah.
Australians talk so fast. Americans, sometimes you need to,
That's a heavy
Yeah,
statement
that's actually
there.
Yeah.
Like I thought you were talking about like for a non-English speaking country. Yeah,
Me too.
that I
Yeah.
can agree with,
Yeah.
but you know.
yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll have to park that argument.
Yeah.
I don't want. We
Yeah.
can claim that. Yeah. But yeah. Okay. So.
Yeah. I forgot the fact about that. Yeah.
I thought you were talking about Asia too. I was like, I'm with it. I'm with it.
So maybe very quickly, did you have like experience in hosting or like radio? Because that's typically where people started. You know,
I started with
shoutcasters.
hosting.
Okay.
Most of it was always hosting events and talking to people, doing public speaking. My last event was Chinese New Year in February, and I was thinking of like leaving from Manila from March. So it was less than a month, and I was doing all my papers and stuff, and suddenly the world just crashed down. And
This March. Yeah, it was March 2020 when that happened.
Yeah.
yeah, and that was the time when esports just like boomed.
Yeah.
And I saw you guys like MPL Philippines. You were hitting almost 1 million viewers.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, it was crazy. So you started from corporate advertising, big words like enterprise. I'm
Yeah.
sure that the people have some other people understood it.
Yeah.
For me personally, I'm not that big brain enough to understand it.
No, SME, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, now which is a totally different world, and that's also kind of true with Mr. Naisou here. And by the way, if you don't know, he already has a podcast like explaining where he started. So if you want the whole details of it, watch out for the Zoocast, and it's available on Spotify and YouTube. Is it available on YouTube?
It's those episodes are mostly Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
All right, perfect. So yeah, just look it up. And Mr. Naisou actually started modeling.
Can you
show up that photo?
How far of that?
Somebody show that photo
Okay.
up.
Yeah. Note for the editor. Show the photo. Just kidding. Can you have a brief the summary of what
TLDR.
because TLDR because like I said, if you want the full story, you'd rather hear it from his podcast.
So it's been like 12 years now. I moved to the Philippines on like 12 years ago. Long story short, it was on a whim. I was working 2 jobs. I was 21, 22, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go to the Philippines. And then got here. I actually didn't have that much of a plan, to be honest. And then I stumbled into modeling, and then I was actually doing like amateur gaming competitions then too. At the time, same thing, like League of Legends was, where I was spending most of my gaming time. Fast forward, I made enough from there. I went to college. The thing that I always knew is that I wanted to go to college to get my education degree. Like I don't know why. I just had very influential teachers in my life. And so like it just like pushed me in that direction where I was like, okay, I want to be a teacher. Ended up going for special education, got my degree here in the Philippines. Loved college here. I think that was a very unique experience too, especially since everybody back in the U.S. was all obviously going to school, college in the U.S. My experience was very different. And then after graduating, I essentially, I went to go teach, So I went to go teach. I was teaching special needs individuals over in Quezon City. I was doing that for 3 years, and then that leads up to the pandemic. And it's funny because I feel like, so many of these stories, that's where they relate. Like the pandemic was that either catalyst where you did something, like you pivoted in your career, or you just like shut down and stayed home. You know, like because my the place I was teaching at, it shut down. So like literally closed down. So it's like, okay, I was holding on for like 2-3 months, right? Everybody was like, no one knew how long we were going to be locked down for. And so I was like holding on too. But then when they announced like, hey, by the way, you know, we've been closed for like 3-4 months. Like we can't just keep, you know, paying the rent or whatever. We're going to have to close the place down. So then that immediately was like, well, I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And now before that all happened, before the lockdowns happened, I think, what year did MLBB come out?
Should be 2016.
Was it 2016?
First season?
Yeah.
No, like, the game. I think it was 2016, 2017, right?
Yeah.
So, I had been playing MLBB for quite some time already. Like, I played it as soon as it came out. But I had never tried streaming until I think my third year of teaching, and someone was like, hey, why don't you just try, like, streaming as, like, a hobby? You never know what can happen. Because that was the time, too, when Facebook gaming was, like, really popping off. Yeah. Like, but then I was kind of like, well, I can't speak Tagalog, like, fluently. It was my Tagalog back then was way worse.
Okay.
And I was like, well, I'm going to be an English streamer in the Philippines. Like, who's going to watch me? And my one friend, who went by the name of Coach Chuck back then on
Coach
Facebook.
Chuck,
we went to college together.
Really?
He's like, and he's just like, dude, just stream. You're like one of the best gourds I know, if not the best, because all I did was play gourd. So I played gourd. I was like, okay, well, I'll just stream and I'll like show people that gourd, even though he's a non-meta hero, you can still like play at a high level.
Yeah,
that was my whole premise. I did it at the time. Very similar. You know, I had like a few viewers, but then it essentially grew with me ranking up gourd to the global ranking to
top one global.
Yeah, eventually got number 1.
It's legit, by the way. Top one global. This guy. Top one global.
That was like 3 years ago. But that really built my audience, and like that's where I built my following. So it was just kind of weird for me to go from like a teaching career to like now here I am like saying like, yeah, I'm a streamer. You know what I mean? And then which I will say that streaming brought a lot of different opportunities at different times in my life. And I kind of relished in that, like, oh, I'm a popular streamer for a little bit, and then you go and learn other skills, like that being content creation. Yeah. Because I had none of those skills, to be honest. Like, I didn't know any of it. And that was a time, too, then I started messing with TikTok, and there was no gaming section on TikTok back then. It was like all dances. I was just like, dude, I was like, what if I started posting gaming clips? And that's what, and like before there was even gaming TikTok, I started taking highlights from streams and like really terribly editing them, but throwing them on TikTok. Yeah. And then they started to gain traction. And eventually, long story short, again, that's where Butters ends up finding me on TikTok, because I didn't even know that I was shoutcasting, but I would stream my gourd games and commentate me, like my gourd gameplay.
But you're not watching pro games then? I
was barely watching them.
Okay.
Like I would watch them here and there, but not religiously.
Okay.
Right? And to be honest, I never knew there was an English broadcast. Because like my Facebook always just brought me to the Tagalog. Yeah. So I had no clue that there was actually English until like later on. Yeah. So Butters messages me, eventually gets me on the right path to joining the caster search. Yeah. Eventually, right, and then kind of entering from there. Just funny thing, and I always tell people this, is the little like fun fact was season 8 when we both joined. That was my first ever MLBB game to cast. I had never casted MLBB ever, and then just so happens like my first MLBB cast is a professional game. So I was like, crazy. I was like, let's do it. But and another funny thing is, me and Francis, we met. Was it before Caster Search?
It was way before. It was like way before a collegiate tournament.
Yeah, we met in a collegiate tournament online, and
a different game.
They usually throw people just like, you know, in these online casts, and you have no clue about them. Yeah. And I am like, this is like my second or third cast, and this guy pops in. First off, he tells me like his power went out or something. I haven't met him yet.
I was having a storm.
Yeah, he was having a storm
during that time. Yeah.
And then I'm like, oh no, am I gonna have to solo cast? I was so worried because it's like my second cast. And then he's like, no, I made it in time. Jumps in, starts talking, and I'm like, dude, where's this guy from? Like his English is so good, And then that's our first like interaction, basically.
I did not know this, by the way.
Yeah, we both met in that game. We never knew like.
What was this game? Oh, it was the Okay.
It was a different game.
It was different game.
It's a different game.
It's a different game. Okay.
But then we saw each other's names for caster search when we got like Tom 32. I was like, dude, it's you.
You're here, man. The 9th.
Wow. Yeah. Then you physically actually met there, right?
Yeah, that was the first time. Yeah.
Man, wow, what a trip! What a trip! And one thing that maybe there's two things that I want to discuss. The first one is this part. The pivot for you guys is the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's different for me because I started way before the pandemic, and the pandemic is more of a catalyst for me. But for you guys, it was your launchpad. It was your way into
it was like
esports.
Our pivot.
Yeah, it was pivot. Yeah. But here's the thing, right? Because I've heard from a lot of people, like even outside of our industry, even outside of esports. For example, in the cafe business, there was a big boost. Even when it's not no longer face to face, but there are industries that kind of expanded because of the pandemic. So that's when like in-house cafe started, like the cold brew. Everybody's just selling cold brew all throughout the pandemic,
The co-working spaces.
But after the pandemic, they really dipped down and they never really sustained. People just moved on. People did a different thing, and that can be said with some other people too that got into esports but didn't stay after the pandemic. For you guys, you stayed after the pandemic. So maybe my real question is like, what was it that made you stay, and is it actually like a livable kind of a career, in the Philippines?
For me, I considered esports back then when the pandemic was happening. Since I was starting to discover myself, like, oh shit, I have a potential of shoutcasting games. But it was more likely in the MLBB gigs and events online. This was during the Smart Stick Club. Saya.
Yeah.
If you guys remember. So when I thought of like we were having this TFs, having continuous gigs. Oh, this is all online. This is all happening different in a month, maybe 4 times a week. So when I felt like it could actually be a sustainable path for a stage that we needed to launch from, since as you've mentioned, since hosting by that time was so dead, there were no events, no concerts, no cinemas. So I had to have this thing that I needed to adjust, and streaming was a way. Like my friend Joner from Job.com pushed me like how to try this with some things that I learned from the internet and some gigs that he thrown at me, like. Why don't you try this? And suddenly Dan pops up. When I started to get those gigs, and I learned from that moment that Dan found me. Butters found you, right? So Dan found me. So when he's had his program, I had to. Why don't I give it a try to actually expand my expertise to keep up how you guys do it in the pro scene? I look up to you guys, especially you. Yeah, back in the day. No, man, seriously. No matter how.
I didn't know anybody.
Yeah, we didn't know. I know Butters was my coach back in TMP in Wave 2, and
oh, that's right, you did TMP.
Yeah, me and Santi was in Wave 2 of TMP. So is where our roots were starting to get nurtured and how we gained experience. So from that moment on, I thought that this could be a career from the pandemic days, but moving up to this year, you needed to opt for something else. Like you need to have a different way of like making a good amount of money as well. What if at some point you're off season, some point you don't get gigs, so I needed to adjust having either 2 or 3 possible income streams to make it work, because that alone, like casting, it could be good, but now it's like where the world is healing, and it's good, but in a way you also need to look for ways to actually make it worth the time and make some different money.
For sure. How about you?
I guess the way that I looked at it was immediately my first season of MPL. I was kind of like, well, how long is this going to last? Like that was my mindset. Like immediately and knowing that esports was booming like during that time and everything, I was like, this is amazing. It's an amazing opportunity, but how long is this going to last? How long can I stay in it? What can I do to take this, what I'm earning now, and make it work for me? Or, how can I get another income stream, basically was already my thought. And so that's kind of what led me down my diversification of income streams, because over the past, it's been 2 years now that we've both been casting in the MPL. I've, kind of ventured off in, let me go ahead and go into a business, which is, thankfully the nail business, which is completely out of the realm of esports and gaming, which is doing wonderfully. Aside from that,
Yeah, just a footnote for everyone out there. You see this big guy? He owns a nail business. Yeah.
Partially.
show your claws, bro.
I don't have the claws, bro. Shout out Claw Studio.
Yeah, perfect.
But and then I got into voiceover stuff, and I found out that I can do voiceovers, narrations, and everything. And then I started doing my own podcast. And I think one of the things, maybe the majority of us do in esports, is we actually, I would say the people that are moving forward or ahead a little bit, they have found a way to become really good content creators.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, that's where we are now in this world. Everything is content based, short form, long form, whatever form you're into. But if you are doing something, like, you need to know how to make content. Even if you own a business now, like, that's why for, in such a short amount of time, the nail salon did so well, because we created content for it and we really knew how to market it, right? And so I think now, if you're asking, is a career in esports sustainable? It depends on what your position is. But no matter what that position is, especially if you're, in a caster or a host or something, you have to learn other skills, which I think just comes down to, yes, content creation, producing content, even like this podcast itself, because biggest thing here, and something that I've learned, is you never know what opportunity is waiting for you. And the only way to have those opportunities show themselves is if you're producing content or creating content and showing value to the world, basically.
Yeah, for sure. The way that I see it always is like we're like athletes. Like, how athletes have like technically speaking, like a shorter span when it comes to like how much their prime is, basically.
Yeah.
So I think that we also have our prime. Like, and then eventually when we're out of our prime and we are, or the game itself is not already in prime, that's where we start to, not get any more income. And the thing with athletes, like NBA players, they always have a backup plan after their career is over. They basically have businesses, something like that.
We all need that.
Yeah, and it's funny because that you mentioned that, because that's actually part, I guess, I don't know if I want to call it a fear, but it was like a thought.
Yeah.
It was like, how long specifically can MLBB continue forward? And since we all fall under that, umbrella, I know you know, we've all casted different games too, but when that's your main, main game that you're casting and everything, like that you can't help but think about that, like, what happens, or how far can this go on? And even with that, I still think, like, you have to have another source, at least one more source of income, because if you're completely relying on casting income, it can work, but let's be honest, most people don't know how to manage money either.
Yeah, for sure.
So, you kind of learn that along the way too.
And also, like, technically speaking, in a high level, I guess, shoutcasting is definitely sustainable, but it depends on your lifestyle.
Exactly.
It's always about your lifestyle.
How you do your day.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, like,
what's that called? There's a term for that. Lifestyle creep. Like when you start earning more, you start spending more. That's like an actual term.
Oh,
lifestyle creep.
Yeah. It just ripples.
It creeps up on you.
Yeah. That's actually very true. Man. Man. Yeah. But yeah, like I said, it's always just...
You see how he smiles?
I don't know why.
It's like an epiphany. It's like
no, because it's like you used to drink, 3-in-1 coffee, and now you're like, where's my Starbucks?
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Where's my coffee in UCC?
Ooh, okay. Now, another thing that I wanted to bring up with both of you guys is that this is a personal judgment of mine. I like the two of you because of your voice. And it's crazy that when you entered MPL, you already have trained voices, or at least you sound like you have trained voices. Unlike us, we sound like gamers, you know? We try to develop it eventually, but the first time we started, we sounded like gamers. Like literally, we just sounded like teenagers that, or, you know, like college students who felt like they can speak a lot. But, you know, we had to develop like the identity of the voice. We had to like exercise for it. But when both of you entered, we're like surprised. Oh my goodness, these guys sound so good. So where did that come from? Where did it come from?
To be fair, like Wolf is one of the founding casters in the esports pillars, even in this
I wouldn't
industry.
say
So just
that.
to be fair,
No,
yeah,
like,
you and I agree.
No,
Yeah,
and
whatever
it's funny,
happens.
because all the OG casters, like from our side, it's like you guys all have your unique voice.
Yeah,
So like,
Yeah.
just listening to you guys on a different level, whoever the OG casters were, like, you know that okay, that's them, that's their voice. So, you know, what is, it's subjective. Like, what is a
for
good
sure.
voice, right? So there's unique voices, there's good
Yeah.
voices.
But with you guys, you guys, yeah. I think that when you first hear your voice, like it's pretty distinct. It's very clear, and it's very what's the term, like whole, you know. But yeah, it's a good sounding voice. Like
thank you.
What did you do?
yeah. What did you do?
Well, mostly my family back in home. Sometimes we do 80% English when we talk in dialect. Sometimes Tagalog. Yeah,
But you also speaking like broadcasting voice.
no.
Good morning, mom. Good morning, mom.
What's up? What's for dinner? Somewhere? No, it's just my normal English speaking voice, and most of the time I had to movies, I guess, or maybe
movie influence.
movies,
Okay.
cartoons.
Did you have any training? Like,
In English?
no, like vocal
Speaking,
training
yeah.
or anything?
In speaking, I was once a choir member. Does that count?
Yeah. No, it does, because you
Oh,
learn
really?
it. Choir member does count because you learn how to control your breath, and you learn to, because when you're singing from your diaphragm.
Oh yeah.
And I would say that when we're broadcasting, especially if in, you know, let's say play-by-play casting or
Yeah.
whatever, like you tense your diaphragm, and you're, you know,
The correct way
control
to
your
do it
breath.
is to tense.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, and I mostly spend my time in the pool. I do breathing exercises.
Oh.
It's the secret.
No,
Get a swimming pool, guys. Be a caster.
yeah. Well, that's one. I don't know. That's two, and part of it is it's just my me and my family talking online most of the time,
Yeah.
and I had to. Well, they're all in different parts of the world, and I had some time, like for a year, I'm with them, so mostly it's just purely Australian or American English, so I can just converse with everybody. I had even a chance to say, like, I was talking to a local back in Australia, and he said, "Are you from here?" And I was like, "Ooh, thanks."
Okay.
But no, I'm not from here.
Compliment.
I'm a Filipino, by the way.
I would imagine like conversations in the Cantero or the Cantero families,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they're broadcasting. This guy's saying like his training is talking to his family. It's
In
crazy.
a broadcasted way? No,
Yeah.
it's not in a weird
Okay.
way. But yeah,
Okay.
that's where I got it.
Mine's
How
very
about you?
simple. I'm American. Like, I'm half American. I spent the majority of my time growing up in the U.S. I don't know what else.
Plain and simple.
No, what you guys are talking about is you being fluent in English or the way that you speak. But I'm talking about like
Like the voice
the
itself.
voice itself. Like,
No, like,
did you get that from teaching, or like, at least for me, I can honestly say that it came from it first started with me listening to movies, because my sister just wanted me to watch a lot of like
yeah.
international movies and stuff. But so you didn't have formal training.
No.
No.
I just,
What? So you guys are both naturals. You'd say.
I guess, like, you know, for the most part, I don't know. I was in choir too, like in high school.
Really?
So you're in choir?
Yeah. I was a
Can you give us a
baritone.
sample?
Can you sing? If you sing, I sing.
I'm not gonna sing, bro.
Okay. That's
no. Here's the thing. The only reason why I was in choir is because the choir teacher at the time was our football coach for freshmen, sophomores in high school. So he like forced us to join, but it ended up working out, and I ended up actually really enjoying music. Like, that's not to slam choir or anything like that. Like, I enjoyed music, and I was also a part of the band. So
as a singer?
No. Instrument, percussion.
What do you play? Oh no,
I'm a
way.
percussionist. So
I was playing drums for 5 years, man.
see,
You guys, you guys are alike.
good job.
This is the OSX, the Australian, Naisou, the American.
Yeah, but I would say, I would say that throughout my life, I guess I never really noticed it. But like, so people would go on and be like, "You have a nice voice," and I just never really thought about it. So I guess like some people it just comes like natural.
Yeah.
Like,
But there has to be some sort of like influence to it, like the way that you speak English, or at least for me as a Filipino, is because I was hearing a lot of like English growing up. So maybe, well, for you, I guess, are you like a fan of sports? Because that's maybe my influence, like the way that I analyze stuff, the techniques that I use. I mean, when it comes to like analyzing, is from sports. So maybe. Like the sentence construction, the paragraph construction is from sports. But how about you guys? Like, do you have that pattern, or you can say no if there's not? I mean, we could just say that you guys are natural.
Well, the first time I gave a sample casting clip was an audition for Mineski TV. And the email was Zen Angeles back then.
Shout out to Zen.
And I met him back in season 9 where he's like, you didn't reply from that email for like 5 or 8 years ago. And I met you here. And to go back on the influence, I was watching a lot of League that time. And my inspiration also came with Captain Flowers, with some people also do. And from that moment, and also I like watching Jimmy Fallon. He's just totally hilarious and good. So maybe that's one thing that helped me, but from the way I started casting back then, I totally cringe. I was I think
that's most people though.
In a way, puberty helped. Puberty. Okay, I don't know.
Okay,
but it just worked, and I believe by just through experience with just speaking and just reading books a lot gave me so much way just to continue to read and speak English.
Yeah. I think like the only difference for me there is just even going back and looking at my old streams, like the way that I talked on stream, I just knew I had to like turn a switch on, like project a little more, be a little more alive, like put a little more energy into naturally what I'm saying in the cast is like how I talk. So that was,
I can see that.
Yeah, that was like the main thing. And then same thing with what Francis said, like my early casts, you go and watch them, you're like, man, this is kind of cringe, but
creepy.
Yeah, but like the foundation is there. I think all of it is like, how do you make this more of like a presentation voice? And then that's it. Like you learn to refine it through working, right? And that's kind of it.
And of course, like getting feedback from other people.
Exactly.
Of course, yeah.
Okay, now that we saw like your past, you guys. By the way, I just want to say that this guy actually started. You did the modeling thing. Did that even like help you with?
Did it stretch a muscle
like,
in your neck or something?
I was gonna say, did posing with my shirt off help me with my voice? Is that what you're asking?
No, not at all. Like totally not.
No, they just told me to shut up, take my clothes off, and walk. That's it. Wow.
All right. Oh my goodness. Okay.
I'm joking.
That's so funny. Okay, now that you guys have already established your entry to esports, and then of course you made your own names. When it comes to shoutcasting, it took you what, maybe 2-3 years now?
Officially, yes, in the pro
2
scene.
years, right?
For me.
Yeah, I was gonna say I only started casting. Like I started casting, jumped right into pro scene. So it's been about 2 years. 2 years, right?
Yeah, but in my amateur casting tournaments was like almost 1.5 or almost 2. Total 4, but in a professional.
Mine was like 3 months.
Yeah, so mostly officially, I always count like the 2 when I started MPL.
Well, technically speaking, you had an international cast after 2 years of casting professionally, which was great. And by the way, congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Well, this guy has been doing it for for about
Yeah,
a year.
I got kind of, I got lucky.
Yeah, so you say. And this guy, after 2 years, now you both are now part of an international broadcast, and big congrats to you. It's your first one.
Thank you.
The first one for Mr. Naisou was
MSC, yeah.
Was it MSC the first one?
MSC, yeah. Last year, 2020, MSC 2022, right?
Yeah,
Right.
he was the one.
Malaysia.
Oh, okay. So yeah, so you went to Malaysia. That was perfect, and you were very impressive. And people, and I personally thought that when you came back after MSC, like MSC,
It's a huge
so season
XP
10.
boost. Yeah.
So MSC was season 10, and then season 11.
Yeah. Then season 11 was after M.
Let's see.
M4.
But the point is, when you came back, you were a different caster already.
Yeah.
I felt that.
Yeah.
And you were so, I think, I always tell this to anyone, Naisu's skill on the desk kind of increased tenfold just because of MSC, which is to me very surprising. So, congratulations
Thank
on
you.
that too. Can you tell us a little bit of how that international cast went, and was it ever like a goal of yours to be an international talent?
Yeah, I think 100%. It was a goal, and I actually talk about this a little bit in my podcast because I talk about goals specifically there. And when I went into casting, I was like, okay, what is my short-term goal, long-term goal? And that was basically eventually to land into an international broadcast. I just didn't know it would happen so quickly because technically it happened very quickly for me in my career as a caster. But I just took that as an opportunity. I will admit I was nervous going over there because I went by myself, by the way, too. Initially I was there for the group stages by myself, and these guys, by that time, I had been watching a lot of, Gideon, LaFell, all those guys, right?
Little, yeah.
Yeah, and so for me, going in there, I was kind of nervous, but also just like, okay, let me just soak up as much information as I can. Let me just be a sponge. And I know that I have a good foundation, but I'll learn a lot from here. And that's kind of how I took it. And I think that's why it maybe seemed like I had such a huge jump after that, because I did take the time to ask each caster that I casted with, like, hey, help me, what can I improve on? What did you think about the broadcast? And that's kind of like a typical thing that a lot of us do, right? I mean, even here for MPL Philippines, but I guess it's different when you get to work with international talents because you get a different perspective, right? And so I think that was a big thing for me. And I'm forever grateful for that first MSC tournament because I learned so much from that time and, repeated the same thing in M4.
Yeah.
So, that was I would say that international tournaments are huge XP boosts, but you also just get a whole different perspective on casting.
I guess another follow up to that is that, do you think that being a caster for an international tournament when you started locally, is that a natural career path for a caster like you, speaks in English? Do you think that's you said it was a goal for you, but you think it's
can everybody do it, that kind of thing?
Is it like a valid promotion in our career path thing, or is it just like a bonus?
I think, well, it depends how you look at it, but I would look at it as if you had the opportunity to cast internationally, that is an opportunity to consider that as this is a time for me to level up, but also recognition that the work that I've put in the local scene is allowing me to show what I have, or show what I'm capable of on the international scene. Because there's a whole what it's like it's when you go there to an international stage, it's completely, it just feels like it's leveled up in a way where you have a whole different experience. And what I compared it to, especially as someone who played sports in high school, and when they were comparing, let's say, high school sports to college sports, or let's say college athletes to going to the professional level, that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like things were much faster paced, much more, weighted in terms of production and everything else, obviously. So you just feel like you have to rise to the occasion for the most part. If you're not rising to the occasion, then you're doing it a disservice. That's how it was for me mentally.
Okay. That is definitely a different take, but then again, I kind of get it. There's whenever I do international too, like it's always also like absorbing everything and learning from your peers. It's never like it only almost feels like it's the same, but more like there's a lot more pressure. But like when it comes to difficulty, you can argue that it's more difficult, but at the same time, it's also the same with your local broadcast. Like if I were same event, for example, like MSC, like you were there internationally, I was in the Tagalog broadcast, but I felt that I was also doing it the same intensity as I would internationally, but in a different language only, you know. But of course, I guess it's difficult because you're abroad. But, you know,
I guess for me too, it's a little bit of a different perspective because I don't do Filipino broadcast.
Oh, yeah.
You know, so like,
True.
you know, when that's why just like if someone is primarily an English caster or English, you know, speaker, I think that's a good way to look at it. Is like one of my goals is to go cast internationally.
Yeah,
you know, I think that's a valid goal for any caster to really have.
Yeah, which I agree. I totally agree. And how about you, Mr. Francis? How was your first international broadcast?
He was freaking out.
Well,
were you a big brother to him?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
well, first off, I kind of gave up on the fact that I might end up casting an international broadcast.
Before this.
Since I was
Before
existing
this.
in April, I was like, I kind of let go of the fact that I might have a chance. Maybe.
Why did you feel like that? Is it because it's competitive? Like, let's be honest. Like the English broadcast for MLBB specifically, very competitive.
Yes, it is competitive, and maybe for at some point I am contented on what's given to me by the broadcast responsibility. I'm totally happy with it. I didn't expect that at some point somebody in the Middle East would actually take a risk on me and say, "We have a game. This is the ISF," and there's suddenly just things so like, bro.
Is this happening?
This is happening. This is
Dude,
Is
Is
it a
this
pinch me
happening?
moment? Is it a pinch me moment for
I think
you?
it was more.
Yeah, it was more. Yeah, I was. I kind of gave up on the fact that I might fly. I had chances to fly, but it was not for broadcasting. It was for the
Back
national
end.
team, for the C ball.
Yeah.
But one of the things I would also like to highlight was my experience in Jakarta, which I saw you guys in the World Championship stage, which is so awesome. One of my highlight moments in visiting a World Championship
Hey, look
stage.
behind you.
Yeah, look behind you, man. I'm just here.
He literally called me while I was in M4 on the desk for rehearsals. He said, "Hey, look behind you." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, what are you doing here?"
That was
Yeah.
in Jakarta.
Yeah, I was so happy. We were doing content for the league, and going back to my first international experience, it was for me it was terrifying at first. I always had this first day jitters at all the things that's new to me, and I'm just happy. Like I had a way to ask Naisou on how he was preparing on his first cast because it was different. But this time around, it wasn't from the league. It was a sole organization who actually organizing this thing. So we had seen few people familiar in on our ecosystem in our league, but being in that part of like casting your first international gig.
Yeah.
At the first day, it was so terrifying. Yeah.
Terrifying how like you don't want to terrifying in a way that you don't want to make a mistake, that you want to make a good impression, something like that.
Yeah, it was both, but I need to get it off my chest because there was also a lot of factors that I needed to go through. It was the time difference. It was this was the biggest challenge that I learned through you guys and Manjin. At some point in a broadcast, you won't have the same treatment of having a prompter or even a guide. So this is what I call a save the show technique that I keep on practicing because at any point, even on our gigs here in the Philippines, you won't have any guides on how to go through with that. So having my first international cast with Nice, it was like I was kind of like feeling on how is this flow being done. But from the second and third and fourth day, I had a way of like adjusting what was my mistakes on the first one because it could be 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 100% 1 overwhelming for me.
Yeah.
And it was so hot in Riyadh, like
Like literally. Like literally.
and I had this Ispoggy shot right in the middle of the desert. It was
Yeah.
45 degrees. It was basic.
And now you're wearing a suit.
A suit,
yeah,
and
goodness.
I got this most awesome candid photo. It was, by the way, it was just a test photo, and it was like, oh, dude.
He's talking about my profile.
Okay,
his photo was that.
got it.
Yeah, for me.
Naisou,
Yeah.
Naisou shots.
Yeah,
right now.
how it is so. Why is it so perfect?
I was like, I don't know. I was just fixing my hair, bro.
How it is so perfect? And yeah,
Okay.
on the first day it was very challenging, but I had to accept the feel and the vibe on what's
Yeah.
happening around the operation. So on to the days that I was doing it and we were getting the hang of it, so I tend to adjust on the fly as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a part of what you just said about like production, and it's totally different. Like how an international organizer or an organizer for an international tournament treats you differently, because it's just a difference in culture, difference in budget, difference in everything. Which I kind of feel lucky that I was able to cast in like the most grassroots kind of tournament, wherein the way that they treat talents were
It was way different.
way different, and also like technically speaking they're treating it badly, but they don't know that, and I don't know that, because I mean before the budget for esports is just very, very low, you know.
Yeah.
So you thought that I'm actually thinking like when I was casting before in those kinds of tournaments, I'm already feel blessed because I thought, oh, this is amazing, like everything's so high tech, you know, like because I thought that it was how it should work. And then MPL, bless the MPL, because they have been improving when it comes to like treating us, and we're actually like being babysat all over. So
Yeah.
when you get back to a different kind of organizer, it will be different, and they have their own comforts and they have their own like difficulties, which no, what I'm trying to say here is that every talent should be prepared for that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like bring your A game no matter what the production gives you, which I know that you guys did in Riyadh, so that was amazing. And maybe the last question here for you is like so was it everything that you hoped for? That kind of like is that international cast everything that you hoped it would be?
Yeah, it was the biggest milestone in my English broadcasting career, and I just can't believe, like, just being there and you sitting on a plane, yeah, with this guy. Yeah, he was in the middle of the of the fourth season. He was in the middle. I don't know how he actually worked with that. It was a 9-hour flight, by the way. But the feeling of by just being there. It was just something that I considered from that moment, like somebody in the multiverse or the universe, somebody actually would believe in you and would take a risk to take you and fly you in. So from that moment that I had the chance, I had this way of like, I wouldn't want to miss the opportunity no matter what comes next. But when I got back in the Philippines, I started to watch over on how we did in the broadcast, on how to improve myself, especially on carrying the show. Because at some points,
Yeah.
we get treated differently. But if we had this training and experience back here in the Philippines that we can carry onto the international stage, onto the international stage, I think it's one of the prime performances that we can give to the clients as well.
I want to just follow up on that, and I think it speaks volumes for how good our training here is, like in MPL Philippines, and what we've been through, like as casters, especially me and OSX being relatively new casters, right? And just how things have been kind of refined is when you get a compliment from the organizers that are like, at the end of it, they just told us, you guys are so easy to work with.
Hey, that's
And
Yeah,
like
amazing.
That
That's
alone,
very nice to hear.
Yeah, they're like, you guys are the best. That like I don't know verbatim, but it was like, you guys are so easy to work with, some of the best that we've worked with, and it just makes our job so much easier.
Yeah,
So
melts
thank
our
you.
heart. Yeah.
So when we hear that, immediately I'm just like, well, that feels great.
Yeah.
And then I told Francis, I was like, that just shows, like, again, you know, how much the MPL Philippines and the whole process of us like getting into this ecosystem and the training that we've had from the workshops that we've had, you know, from everything, you know, he's had TMP and all that just came down to that, basically that sentence that they told us there. Like, it's so easy to work. Like, again, that is a huge compliment that just speaks volumes for even what we experience here.
Yeah.
Didn't you just feel like every single weight that you felt, like when it comes to like your tiredness, your fatigue, whatsoever, it all went away after hearing that?
Yeah, because the whole time I was saying, like, did we take good or something? I want to know.
I knew we did good.
I myself,
This guy.
I'm an overthinker. It was my first.
Yeah, he's an
thing,
overthinker.
Am I sure of what we did? And okay, that affirms it. Okay, I'm gonna stop now.
Okay, perfect. All right, and then with that, here's to hoping that there will be more. And I'm telling you, like, don't be disappointed if there won't be more, like in the immediate future. But just be ready for it, and watch out for these guys. I'm pretty sure that you'll be there for MPL season 12 and for more other MPL broadcasts. I hope that we keep on doing this. Let's close the show with one good. I think this is a good question because I'm gonna ask you it anyways, part of the broadcast. But yeah, what's your best moment in esports? Be it from casting, even just watching or being part of a tournament whatsoever. Like, but yeah, what stands out and what kind of emotions do you typically evoke when you recall that moment?
For me, and I've actually thought about this before, and my best moment has to be like when I was casting at M4, because that was my first world tournament, right? It was my first international world tournament, and I clipped this right away too. It was when Kyrie Hayabusa play versus Echo.
Yeah.
Because I was doing the play-by-play, and there's not many moments for us casters that are just these like iconic moments where you're doing the play-by-play and it's on, let's say, the world stage.
Yeah.
And so for me, that was a huge, pinnacle moment for my casting career. Because even if you go listen to the clip, and I clipped it and put it on my TikTok because I like to go back and listen to it, and I just like. Also coming from a fan of Kyrie, even back then when he was full clip. Like, that's the thing. And so to see that, to witness it, to be casting it, I just completely lose my mind, to the point where, like, all my casting foundations and fundamentals go out the window, and it's just pure emotion, like me freaking out.
Yeah.
And, that for me was what, a big thing about what casting is about.
Yeah.
And that's where it's like, you're a professional caster, but also we are fans. And so that just was the moment for me,
That was perfect. And me and Merkel were watching that in the hotel. We were just so many like R-rated words were said during that moment. And you were casting. By the way, when you said that your fundamentals were thrown out the window, I disagree. I thought that was a great commentary.
Well, thank you.
And the fact that you lost your mind but still like managed to deliver good commentary, that actually is a massive, like, it's a high level skill, So
thank you.
And thank you for that moment too. Let's switch it over to Mr. Francis. What's your best moment?
It would be the grand finals in ISF in Riyadh, which we had to. We started casting from. Was it one?
Was it what? 11-hour cast?
11-hour cast, the longest cast we've ever been.
You should have seen our table, by the way, because we didn't have any time to leave the table. So bless their hearts over there. They would bring us food and snack from the buffet, coffee. So it was
bless
great.
the catering. My goodness, the food.
Bless them.
It's amazing. So for me, that's one, the grand finals, because it was my first ever grand finals in my casting career. So okay, I'm gonna go back. So one of the things to highlight in
just go on. It's still recording.
Okay, I just got distracted.
Yeah, he's an overthinker.
Now you know.
It's okay, bro. It's okay, bro.
Okay, yeah. One thing to highlight in my esports career was the grand finals of the ISF in Riyadh. Since we're seeing the Filipino players again be part of the grand finals, and it was my first grand finals cast with this guy, and we both started from a Discord kind of casting, and from the way I see it, we are in a broadcast cube broadcasting the grand finals for the qualifiers for Romania. So that's one thing that kind of gives me a great fulfillment of something that I maybe just not need to give up on myself so quickly with these kinds of opportunities, because I need to put in a great spot in my mind that some point in any time someone would actually still believe in you. So that was one. Second is the opening playoffs in Jakarta for M4. One of the bestest openings that I've witnessed. I cried on that opening. One of the best
Talking about
heartfelt moments. The opening
Ceremony of
Oh,
the last
the
day.
ceremony, the last
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
It was the visuals, the crowd, even the orchestra version of the M4 Dare to Be Great music was like, what the
Yeah.
hell? It was one of the things that I took pride from. Like, it's so good to be in this league right now.
Yeah, I sent a clip of like that, like in the crowd and everything. That's when I sent it to my parents, and like that was also when they were like, okay, wow, like
Right?
Okay,
Yeah.
so is there like this whatever JC's
Yeah.
doing is legit?
Yeah, one of the best openings that I've seen. And looking back on how your M4 journey started, on how the players walked in, there was a cinema reel back in that amazing LED wall display, and how it accompanied by music, and dance was just like, oh shit. I am just so happy to be here right now, and
Yeah.
a great way to just make so much memories. I'm a sentimental guy, so that's one thing to put in my to my scrapbook. So yeah.
Well, congratulations on your IESF, and I think that your first international cast was a trial by fire, literally
It
and
is.
figuratively, which was great, and we are hoping for more. Now, yeah, anything you want to promote to the camera right now? You can
Well, first, like, of course, thanks for having me here. You know, and once you get the name figured out,
all right,
but appreciate being on the
show.
the show. And you know, if you guys out there listening, watching, if you want to check out the Sucast, that is my podcast. You can find it on Spotify. Actually, if you just type the Sucast, you'll be able to find it. And well, there's more in store for the Sucast. Actually, I don't want to talk about it too much because it's a little bit of a secret right now. But I know we'll be seeing more of Wolf also in the future. So thank you for having us.
Yeah. No, your socials. You know,
Naisou.
nice. Across all the board. Okay, perfect. How about you, Mr.
That's it.
Francis?
Once again, thank you, Wolf, for having us here. And I consider Wolf as one of my mentors back in how I started with MPL Philippines season. And yeah, he was one of the guys like who reached out, the first one to reach out when I was at this troubled state of my origin story in MPL Philippines. So if you would have a list of your speed dials on who to contact for some advice, yeah, he's the guy. And I hope you figure out the name of this podcast on when will this be published. But yeah, I want to thank you for just having this
thank you.
opportunity for us to be here. And yeah, my socials is OSXPH on IG, Facebook, and X. Oh, is it X now?
Oh, yeah.
Is it X now?
It's X now.
It's
Yeah.
named after my IGN, OSX. Thank you so much, Elon Musk. It was launched on my birthday, by the way. So
it's you,
It means
practically
something.
you.
It means something. Yeah, and also promoting one of my upcoming startups for this upcoming months is the Clean My Shoes, MNL. So for those of you sneakers out there who want to have your shoes clean the way you want to have it for the rest of the days, yeah, that's the
Okay.
yeah, and
Clean
also
My
account
Shoes.
page. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
So I have one last favor from you guys. Since the other camera is busted, can you close the show for us? Just say goodbye to the viewers and see them next time.
All right. Thanks for tuning in, guys. And we'll see you in the next one.